So everybody always asks me, what are you projecting for the economy and real estate in 2022? I did 3 projections last year. Of course, they were all spot on because this is not rocket science. It's just simple economics. So stay tuned. We're going to talk about what's going to happen in 2022. Hey y'all, welcome back. This is Debbie Dobbins. I'm your host for this episode of Your Wichita Falls. And as you know, I do real estate and mortgages and everything in between in this lovely community of Wichita Falls. Please subscribe to our channel and ring that bell so that you'll be notified every Monday when a new video is uploaded. So what's gonna happen with the housing market in 2022? Well, crazy. I've never seen such a crazy market in my life. As we wrap up another crazy year from real estate, I've been doing this for over 30 years, and it's amazing how crazy this market has been. But there's one big question on everyone's minds right now. What's 2022 going to be like? And is it going to follow the same trajectory? Are we facing a meltdown? Are we facing a bubble crash? All of those things. Every time I've shared the economic projections, we are not headed for a bubble. We may have some flattening, but we're not headed for a bubble. So I want to get that out of the way. Now, downturn is a different conversation. So it's not just me who's predicting, right? I always want to throw in a little bit of information from our experts. The experts for 2022 are all pretty much in agreement to a certain extent. Well, first of all, they're all in agreement the past 2 years have been full of exciting and record-breaking moments.
Holy criminy.
Tons and tons of record-breaking moments. But it's also seen its fair share of buyer fatigue, hesitancy, and confusion. So what do I mean by that buyer fatigue? If you are a buyer and you were in the buying mode, especially last spring, and made multiple offers and never got anything and outbid by everybody, it caused you to just say, I'm taking myself out of the market. You became hesitant and more completely confused than ever. So here's what the industry experts are saying about what will probably happen in 2022, and I agree with most of it. The first question is, will home prices go up or down? Home prices appreciated exponentially, which is just crazy. And that's been the topic of so many headlines, and not in a good way. But the speculation that we're in another housing bubble has kept many buyers and sellers hesitant. So once again, that hesitancy shows up because there is this unknowingness of what's happening. And I can tell you that the market is not going to crash. So if we're not headed for another crash and prices are going to keep going up, well, when does it end? Well, at some point you start to flatten, and the prices are not as crazy as they were, I promise you. And in Wichita Falls, we don't have the big highs and the big lows, but what does the future hold for these home prices? Well, I can talk about it from a national level, but more importantly, I can talk about it from a local level, because it's important to remember that the 2021 market was anything but normal. So we can look at 2021 and see some history, but it's not normal. And I've said this on several videos, but these escalating home values were simply a direct result of record low inventory. That's all that it is. And I've shared many times, and I don't know if I've shared it on a video, but I've shared it personally. This low inventory actually started back in 2008. We had a meltdown. And if you were involved in it, you remember it painfully and you'd rather not revisit it. But what happened was, back then, we had an oversaturation of inventory, and so it brought the values down. Not only the mortgages caused that, but the inventory went up because people were foreclosing and all these houses were on the market. That being said, the builders back then were on turbo. They were building. And in 2008, when the meltdown happened, they stopped building completely. It takes a long time for building that has been shut down to show an effect. and then ramp it back up. Well, that's exactly what's happened. That building stopping in 2008 and didn't start revamping for a decade at least later, what happened was the inventory went down. Millennials got into the market, COVID happened, people weren't listing their properties, and it was a perfect storm, so we didn't have any inventory. But experts are projecting that that inventory situation should improve in the coming year, and it already has. Once again, builders have started building. They're on turbo again all over the country. We don't have big neighborhood developers. We have individual private developers, but new housing here has gone up. There's a waiting list to buy a brand new home. And as I've said on other videos, there's outside developers coming into Wichita Falls to take homes that need to be vitalized in neighborhoods and either scraping them and building brand new properties or improving the properties. So it's bringing the inventory up. But that
slows down.
As the inventory goes up, it slows the pricing appreciation. What does that mean in layman's terms? The more inventory there is, the less likely people are to overbid on a house. So overbidding $20,000 or $10,000, it's only $5,000 or $1,000. So we're getting back to normal. But the question is, will home prices depreciate? Meaning, will they go down in 2022? Probably not likely. My economic spidey senses say absolutely not. And over 100 industry experts don't think so. So I'm in a good group. They are instead projecting a more modest appreciation of about 5% in the next 12 months, which is very normal. Historically, homes, especially in Wichita Falls, appreciate 3 to 5% each year, instead of that crazy 20% and more seen in 2021. So what does that mean? It's a flattening. What's going to happen with mortgage rates? Well, if we're flattening, mortgage rates aren't going to be as impactful, but they still are. And that is the biggest monkey wrench into this whole thing. Now, interest rates are not going to go from 3% to 8% unless we have some world catastrophe besides COVID. However, these mortgage rates do impact how much you can qualify for a loan. So, I've been in the mortgage business for over 30 years. I've seen every type of interest rate you can imagine. I was selling loans when they were 18%. So to think that you can get a loan for 3% now is just mind-boggling to me. The general public has no concept of what that would be like to have interest rates that high. But here's a graph of the past year's mortgage rates. In the history of real estate, did you know that the average mortgage interest rate is 8%? I know, crazy, huh? That's 5% more than what we look at right here. I was selling loans when I was here in Wichita Falls 20 years ago, and at that point, 7%, I was calling it a refinance boom. It doesn't make you unable to pay a mortgage down or get a loan. It just changes how much you can qualify. So if you're waiting for those rates to come back down, don't wait for that. I promise you, this is the one prediction I can make without question. Mortgage interest rates are not going back down. They hit their bottom in 2021 and they're on the way back up. Will they skyrocket? No. But they're going to go back up. They may hit the high 3s or the 4s. So you're going to be waiting a very long time if that's why you're waiting to buy a house. Don't do that. What's more important is to remind you that the homes right now may be less affordable in 6 months even than they were a year ago. So I just did a video on why you should sell and buy now as opposed to later. Check it out. But the rates are still extremely affordable, as are the homes. So if you look at a 30-year mortgage, and as I said, these average rates for over the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s, the average interest rate over across the board since interest rates began, as I said, is 8%. If we're down in the 6s, we're still really fortunate, and we are in the 3s and 4s. So still prime time opportunities to buy a house and pay great interest rates. But experts don't project that mortgage rates are going to go up a lot. As I just said, any increase would mean an increase in monthly mortgage payments. So while those interest rates are still low, and that could change next month, 6 months, and definitely 12 months from now. And just a little bit in interest rate does impact your payment. It's not going to break your budget, but some people are very close in their qualifying. So it's important to know that those interest rates do play a part in what you're doing. And waiting right now, the best advice I can give to you is don't. The mortgage rates will go up. And then, of course, the last question is, will housing inventory rise in 2022? It already started. The inventory has been, without doubt, the biggest player in this extraordinary real estate market. I've never seen anything else. We've experienced in these last 2 years something historical, and yet it's, as I said, it's caused by this lack of inventory, and the inventory has gone up. But the other thing, and I've talked about this on other videos, this buyer fatigue has been running so high that they've taken themselves out of the market. So the number of buyers that were in the market last spring have gone down because the buyers have just given up. But now they're going to have an opportunity to come back into the market. Will this inventory increase in 2022? The good news is there are many, many factors that lead all of these industry experts, including myself, to anticipate a rise in the homes for sale. And I explained some of that about our new builds, about the people coming in and revitalizing our neighborhoods. All of that adds to, and also people feeling like they can sell their homes again. So homeowners that are planning to enter the market in the next year, it's interesting because 65% of them have just already listed their properties. I did a video on winter and it's got some really great stats in it, so be sure to check it out. 93% have already taken steps toward listing their home, including working with an agent, which is amazing because most people don't list in the winter, but they have already started because many people are savvy and they understand that this market is shifting sand under their feet. 36% of the people that are thinking about listing their home have researched the value of their home and others in their neighborhood, which is just an indication that I want to see how much I can sell my house for. The other big factor playing into a possible or potential rise in inventory is the large amount of equity accumulated nationwide in 2021. This is the most staggering stat that I have seen over this past year. Homeowners gained an average of $56,000 in equity in the past 12 months, which is just phenomenal. That's just, no matter where you live. And I've seen right here in Wichita Falls, these kind of numbers show up. But the thing is, even though this inventory is starting to rise, people are seeing that they have that equity in their property and that they can take that equity and then move up to a bigger home. So now you add the inventory from people being less worried about COVID, we have more homes being built, we have people coming in to vitalize neighborhoods, and you have people that say, hey, I've got money in my equity, so I'm going to move up, increases the ability of inventory to go up. It's important to know that it doesn't mean that prices are going to fall or homes are going to become more affordable per se. There's just going to be more availability to choose from. So what does this mean for you as a buyer and a seller in 2022? There's still a lot of motivation for these buyers and sellers, and that's not expected to change in the coming months. For the first quarter, it's pretty much business as usual, and spring is right around the corner. So typically spring always increases the inventory. The experts are predicting an increase in inventory and a little interest rate increase. So basically right now in this sweet spot between January and March, both buyers and sellers stand to benefit from making a move. So even though today's market might not be as crazy as it was a year ago, it's still very strong right now. There are a lot of things that are going to impact what's about to happen. We have an election year, we have an administration, and all of those factors are weighing very heavily on this market. The first quarter, I'll do another prediction because for now, the market is going to be strong and stable. And in March, I'll let you know what I think about the rest of the year. But for now, waiting till next year could mean losing out on a less competitive market, even after March. So think about it. Where do you want to be a year from now? And start planning today. So I have 2 more videos coming up. And if you'd like to schedule a personal Zoom call with me and ask me any other questions, please do so by clicking on that link in the very first comment below. And as I always say, y'all come back now, you hear? Bye-bye.